very warm welcome to all the participants and all the speakers who have joined us today for the program. Uh, First, I would like to invite Mr. Arvind Godankar, who has joined us today for this session. And so, Mr. Godankar is an experienced industry professional with over 31 years of experience in various different sectors like fertilizers, petrochemicals, steel, cement, shipping, glass, FMCG, etc. He, by education, he is an environmental engineer with an MBA in marketing. He is also a certified director from the Institute of Directors. He has been nominated on various boards and advisory bodies, such as the Board of Global Cement and Concrete Association, Board of Society of Safety, Health, Environment and Sustainability Professionals, CSR, and and such. And he has been an expert in this subject matter and has spoken on various national and international forums. And he has about 100 of research in terms of the PhD work that he has done. A very warm welcome, sir. And we would request you to take over the session and continue.
Thank you, Utsav. Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon to all, and thank you, CII, for inviting me to chair this session, and my co-panelist also. So sustainability in the last one decade, it has become a kind of buzzword, and many people are still struggling to figure out what sustainability is all about. And I have, as a sustainability professional for last almost 15 years, I have been trying to define this term called sustainability. And if the moment context changes, there is a slight change in the definition also. While the core remains same, the core is endurance. The core is sustain. The core is to sustain or to endure. That's the core of any definition. We might have seen the classical definition of the Buntland, and we have we have now the most modern definitions coming up, which talks about creating value for stakeholders. But look, let the context be anything. The core remains endurance. The core remains creating value. And when we talk about endurance, it's about our business continuity. And how can we continue the business that we need to look into? And one of the way to do it is continuously creating value for our stakeholders. The biggest stakeholder for any business is the consumer, and we need to create value for consumers all the time. While consumers have been conscious about price, consumers have been conscious about the quality, consumers have been conscious about timely delivery. Today, the consumers are also asking about environment-friendly products or green products, and we need to deliver that to them. And we have been seeing that a lot of development is happening in eco-friendly cars, eco-friendly products, the refrigerator. Everywhere, people have been asking eco labeling over there. Again, going back to the classical definition, it talks about it talks about meeting today's needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet that need. And when we talk about meeting future generations without compromising future generations' ability to meet their need, what we need to do is conserve the resources which we have today. And conserving the resources is the raw material, basically mined from the explored or mined from the mines. It could be the fossil fuel, or it could be any material which is being used. It could be water, it could be any material which is available in the virgin form. So we need to conserve that material and then produce the good by conserving that. When we talk about conserve, we need to either replace that material with something which is not virgin or something recyclable. I would also like to narrate something over here. All of you must be familiar with the term Earth Overshoot Day. and last year it was 29th of July. Now, what does this Earth Overshoot Day means? Earth Overshoot Day means whatever resources you have on the Earth for allocated for this particular year were consumed on 29th of July itself. So from 29th of July till the 31st of December, whatever resources we required, those were taken from the allotted resources for the next year. Fortunately, this year the Earth Overshoot Day will fall on 22nd of August, and this is due to the global pandemic and COVID, as the consumption has drastically come down. And but otherwise, if we have to meet the need today, we would require 1.75 times the resources which Earth would have. In fact, 1.75 Earth we will require to meet. And if we don't reduce on the speed of consumption what we have, perhaps by end of this century, we may require about 4 Earths to meet our requirement. So there is a urgent need to control on our consumption. There is a urgent need on conservation of the resources. When we talk about resource conservation, we have to also talk about the green product. And when we talk about green products, these green products are designed for environment. These green products are produced by way of efficient manufacturing. It could be that means the productivity is very high. This green product is less of a virgin material and more of a recycled material. And when we put this product into the market, its performance is also very high. Efficiency is very high. It doesn't require more of a energy to operate. It doesn't generate more of a waste. And even if we generate waste, that waste is recyclable. So these are some of the features of green products. So if we want to conserve resources, we will have to use more and more green products. Now, when many people would be confused, how would I identify a green product? Because everybody in the market may say that his product is a green product, and how would somebody know that whether it has all the features expected out of a green product? So they just don't have to be much worried about because CII GBC has come out with a GreenPro certification, and there are about 1,600 products already available from 23 categories in the portfolio, and more than 106 companies are producing this product. So if you are into a business and if you want to build a green product and you are looking for a green raw material, you just have to pick up the relevant material from the 1,600 listed products they have, and they have been certified. The process is very robust. They visit the life cycle assessment. They visit the environmental burden which is created by the product manufacturing process at every node. And based on that, with a very stringent process, they do give GreenPro certification. I would just like to add up here, I represent Ultratech Cement, and which has about 18 of its product GreenPro certified. We have 4 products from cement, we have 4 products from concrete, we have about 9 white cement products, the Birla White Cement product, and 1 product from the building materials division. So perhaps the highest number of green products in the building construction sector the Ultratech Cement has. Now this we could achieve because of conservation of resources. If we are consuming about 90 million tons of raw material, out of which 17.4 million ton comes from the recycled material. So same with the other natural resources also, we are 2.88 times water positive. That means whatever water we require to produce cement, more than that, almost 2-3 times more than that water we harvest in the form of rainwater harvesting, or we recycle the product. Same is the case with plastic also. If you are producing about 70,000, if you are consuming about 70,000 tons of plastic in the form of the PP bag, cement bag, we have about uh, 140, more than 160,000 tons of plastic being recycled back into the process. So more than 2.1 time plastic positive. Same applies with the fossil fuel also. We have replaced fossil fuel, almost 4% of our fossil fuel by way of recycling it from the municipal solid waste and the other areas. I wouldn't take much of time about what we are doing. Here, what we want to communicate as there is a value in going for GreenPro certification and green product, which is available on the shelf for anybody who wants to build a building, anybody who wants to build hello, anybody who wants to build a green product. And we have a very eminent panel here, which will be talking about the various aspects of the green product. We have Mr. Sanjay Kumar from the Indian Railways. He'll be talking about sustainable procurement in construction sector. We have Ms. Dr. Yulia Grasheva from the Ecological Union of Russia. She will be talking about eco-labeling driving the green procurement. We have Mr. Karthikeyan, who is director from CII GreenPro. He will also be talking about GreenPro certification and green product procurement. And finally, we have Mr. Farid Yakar, who is a program officer for sustainable. He will be at United Nations Environment Program. He will be talking about sustainable public procurement, the global trends. So without taking much of time, let me now first invite Mr. Sanjay Kumar, and he is from Indian Railways. And can we put up his profile, please, Mr. Sanjay Kumar's profile? And he has been on the task force for the sustainable procurement. He has been a member of various prestigious board and trustees on the sustainable procurement. He's an international speaker also. And so let me invite, each speaker has about 15 minutes of time, and at the end we will have some question and answer. So it's coming. Let me welcome Mr. Sanjay Kumar. Mr. Sanjay Kumar has about 2 decades of experience in governance and leadership in public policy and procurement. He serves as a member, as I said, on the task force on sustainable public procurement for Government of India. He's the only member from Asia Pacific on the Strategic Advisory Committee of Sustainable Purchasing Leadership Council, which is at Washington, US. He's also on the board of trustees of Asia Pacific Roundtable for Sustainable Consumption and Production. And he has written a number of articles in the newspapers and magazines, and spoken at numerous events spread across 30 countries. So we have a very senior, very known person, Mr. Sanjay Kumar. So Mr. Sanjay Kumar, over to you. You have precisely 15 minutes of time.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm not able to share my screen. So can you request Ustad to share the screen?
Sir, I made you the presenter now. So you will have the option just below your screen for share content.
Yeah, but I can't see that.
Now you'll be able to. Just now I have made you the presenter. Just after the video, button of share.
After. No, it doesn't. It's not giving the option. Utsav, it is on your email. So if you can, share it from the back end.
Uh, okay. Fine, sir. Okay, sir. Can we do one thing? I'll just prepare that background till then. If we have the next presenter, I'll just make it ready till for you till then. Is it okay? That's fine. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Sir, what I'm requesting is if I'll make your presentation ready till then. It will need around
Oh,
10 minutes time. So can we have the next presenter
oh.
till then so that I can make it ready and then you can give the presentation?
Yeah. It's perfectly fine. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay, okay. I'll make it ready for you.
Yeah.
So we would like to invite Ms. Julia as next presenter here.
Hello.
Yeah, so Ms. Julia, while we resolve the technical issue which we have with Mr. Sanjay Kumar, let me introduce Ms. Julia to you. And Ms. Julia, as I have said right in the beginning, she comes from the Ecological Union of Russia. She is also board member in the world leading eco-labeling association, the Global Ecological Network. She is an expert in the UN platform for sustainable consumption and production. She is an expert in the international project under the ENPI, Nordic Council of Ministers. By education, Julia has a PhD in biology, and she is also an environmental expert. She has about 14 years of experience in eco-labeling and certification, and she has been a speaker at various international conferences and also in Russia. So with that, Yulia, let me invite you to talk about eco-labeling, how it's driving green procurement. Over to you, Yulia.
Thank you very much. And can I share my screen?
Sure, please go ahead.
Yes. So you see my presentation now, I hope. Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm very glad to greet all of you on this international conference, and hope you have a good and effective time here. And in my presentation, I will speak about eco-labels and green procurement, how green certification can help in green procurement. My experience in eco-labeling counts more than 14 years, and in Ecological Union, that is Russian non-governmental organization, we are developing the life cycle-based eco-label type 1 vitality leaf, which is very common to GreenPro in India. And we also develop the market for environmentally preferable products and services, which is very essential. I will get you acquainted with the Global Eco-Labeling Network, which is a partner of this conference, and how it can help in establishing green purchase. And while understanding the global importance of the green purchase, I will show you how eco-labels can be used as a tool for effective implementation of green purchase, both for public and private procurement. You could see this logo of the Global Eco-Labeling Network at the conference layout. And this is the International Association, and it celebrated its 25th anniversary last year. Global Eco-Labeling Network, we call it GEN, did a lot to advocate the most credible eco-labeling schemes in the variety of environmental labels. You know, there are more than 400 different labels in the world, but Global Eco-Labeling Network joins the most credible of them. And these schemes, which are most credible, they are called Type 1 eco-labels according to ISO classification. They can be used to distinguish the leadership products of best environmental performance, based on the third-party verification. And Global Eco-Labeling Network is unique because of its experience and because it joins the competent members from all over the world, from America till Oceania, including Asian countries and Europe and Middle East. And our oldest member is Blue Angel, which is more than 40 years old. That is German eco-label. And also, Jen put much effort together with the United Nations to establish new eco-labeling programs. For example, South Africa, Chile, Uzbekistan, or Colombia. There is a wide range of products which are certified by all of GEN members. And you can see there are more than 1 million of such products according to the last data. The largest programs that are certifying products of most number are China Eco-Labeling Program, European Union, and Republic of Korea. And this is not a surprise, because all of them are active participants of the governmental green purchase programs. And now I will speak briefly about the role on sustainable procurement and try to focus on its close binding to eco-labels. Nevertheless, green purchase could have a great economic value. The first reason of implementing green purchase on a global scale is the limited capacity of our planet. For more than 50 years, we have been consuming more resources that we can sustainably supply. And today, humanity uses equivalent of 1.7 Earth to provide the resources that we use. This means it takes the Earth 1 year and 8 months to regenerate what we use in 1 year. And these numbers are, of course, not very good. And while talking about green procurement, I would rather use the term sustainable procurement. And this includes not only environmental, but also social and economic aspects, which is important for implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, which I'm sure you are all acquainted about. Meanwhile, we understand that environmental issues are the basis of this model, and this is shown in my slide in the Swedish resilient model, all based on the environmental issues at first. And promotion of green public procurement or sustainable public procurement is a specific target in the Sustainable Development Goal 12 and a key component for achieve sustainable consumption and production. And the 10-year framework on United Nations program is a global multi-stakeholder platform that supports the implementation of sustainable public procurement all over the world. And this platform can be used by a variety of different stakeholders in order to exchange experience and get more information on sustainable procurement practices and possibilities globally. The implementation of green public procurement is very important, especially in developing countries, for example, Russia, because here the total GDP that is spent for governmental procurement can be up to 30%. So it is extremely important, and the potential of shifting the market towards more sustainability is even higher in developing countries compared to developed countries. And sustainable procurement and eco-labeling are two great tools towards sustainable production and consumption, and they really have the same objectives. And the primary objective, of course, is to reduce negative environmental impacts. And this includes efficient use of resources, reduction, reuse, and recycling waste, protection of ecosystems, and proper management of chemical products. And second objective is encouraging environmentally sound innovation and leadership business. Both eco-labels and green public procurement can offer a market advantage to those progressive businesses who are responsible and comply with the highest environmental standards. And the third objective is building awareness on environmental issues. Both GPP and eco-labels can raise environmental awareness by identifying environmental impacts of different products in the marketplace and provide information on green alternatives. And green purchase can set an example for both the public and the private sector and influence the market. And it can also encourage private organizations to use green criteria in their own procurement. It is not only for public sector. And let us see in detail how eco-labels can support sustainable procurement. To steer society towards sustainability, it is important to have relevant information about both products and organizational performance. What product do we buy? And type-wide eco-labels are considered to be leaders among the environmental labels. Why it is so? This is because of their key attributes. They are voluntary and market-based tools based on the ISO standard, and they use scientific-based life cycle approach. This is very important. We all are based on the scientific approach, which causes to reduce negative impact on the environment for the most strong stages of the life cycle. And standards for the eco-labels are transparent and scientifically based, and verification, and this is also very important, is based on the independent third-party verification. So buying eco-labeling products is a really win-win-win situation because buyers have correct information based on science, and producers increase in their market share, and environment gets its benefits. So eco-labels may be used in sustainable procurement in different ways. There is also a difference between public and private procurement. For public procurement, in most of the countries, it is not allowed to demand that a product shall have a specific eco-label because of the juridic and the law. But for private procurement, these procurers can ask for a specific label on the products in their bids. And for both public and private procurement, eco-labels are very helpful in setting the purchase criteria. The procurer can select those eco-labeling criteria for a specific product category, which suits its specific procurement strategy. And also the eco-labels are very useful as verification tool, since most of the procurers often lack the capacity to check the compliance with criteria. So they can use the eco-label certificate to show the compliance with the green procurement criteria. Of course, producers also have the right to show the compliance in some other ways, for example, by providing test protocols, but it is also always a much more simple way just to show the certificate of eco-label to show the compliance with the criteria. And my next slide will provide some examples of using the eco-labels for procurement in different countries. And let's start with the voluntary guidelines, which are used by some countries for guiding the procurers in their bids. And let's go to China. Green public procurement in China started in 2006, and the environmental labeling product list suggests products that carry China environmental label, which is also the Global Eco-Labeling Network member. The amount of product types in this list have increased in 2 years from 14 to 59 product types. And this includes, for example, office equipment, consumables, electronics, household appliances, furniture, and also building materials. As for the United States Environmental Protection Agency, which is responsible for also for green purchase, they have implemented environmentally preferable program in 1993. And this program provides recommendations for eco-labels to use by non-federal government agencies. Today, 6 Type 1 eco-labels, all of them are members of the Global Eco-Labeling Network, are mentioned in this document, and I'm sure this also will be more broad in future. And another example is Germany's Federal Ministry for the Environment. Its purchasing website directs purchasers to sustainable goods and provides procurement policy development guidance. And these guidelines include the reference to ISO Type 1 eco-labels, such as Blue Angel, Nordic Swan, and EU eco-label. Interesting that German Sustainable Development Strategy sets eco-label market penetration of 34% as its target of SDG 12. So up to 2030 years, Germans believe that they will have more than 1/3 of products in the market that are eco-labeled. And this is the national strategy of the country. And Germany, of course, follows the overall EU policy on green and sustainable procurement, and this includes European Union guidelines and directives, including Buying Green Handbook on GPP. And these guidelines refer to Type 1 eco-labels, again, that meet a number of requirements, such as life cycle consideration, transparency, voluntary nature, and third-party verification. All Global Eco-Labeling Network member eco-labels fulfill these requirements and can be used as a reference. Besides being mentioned in the guidelines, eco-labels can be used also as reference tools when procurers are establishing their own green purchase criteria. And these examples can be found in Asian countries, in Japan and Republic of Korea. For example, in Japan, governmental purchases must meet specific product criteria, and these criteria are based on EcoMark eco-labeling criteria. EcoMark is Japan eco-label, also Global Eco-Labeling Network member. And in Japan, GPP criteria and eco-label act mutually, while GPP criteria are established in consideration for the volume of GPP to be covered, and they're more slight. And the EcoMark program sets more strict criteria to lead the market, to lead the technological development, regardless the volume of GPP. So they work very effectively and jointly, mutually. And in the Republic of Korea, there is a slightly same situation, because green public procurement product criteria are based on the 2 labels, that is Korea eco-label and the recycled mark label. And we see that implementation of the green public procurement caused the dramatically increase of the eco-labeled products in Korean market, up to more than 16,000 products in 2019. So the number of eco-labeled products is a great measurement tool of success of implementation of green purchase policies in different countries. So let's go to private procurement. And also public procurement is important. Private procurement can also make a very great change. And the volume of private procurement could be up to 50% of the country's GDP. So we need to pay attention to them as well. And besides, when there is a still poor regulation for the public procurement in some countries, for example, in Russia, green private procurement can have a great value for developing the market of environmentally preferable products. And for retailers, eco-labels are helpful to get a better understanding of the environmental issues. And the label is an information carrier, and it can decrease the workload of procurers in the retailer and increase the image and the competitiveness of the retailer. And I will show you one case that was at the Russian market in 2018. One of the largest DIY retailers, Leroy Merlin, announced a tender for the production of its own brand of paints and varnishes. And one of the criteria was that product had to carry Vitality Leaf Type 1 eco-label. This bid led to an increasing number of applications for the certification, and today 10 big companies who produce paint were awarded with our eco-label, and in 2018 more than 10,000 tons of eco-labeled paint was sold in this DIY chain in Russia. And another example for retailers how they use eco-labels is the leading Russian multi-format retailer X5 Retail Group. In frames of their sustainability strategy, they developed special guidelines for suppliers with recommended eco-certification schemes. And the global eco-labeling network members, eco-label type 1, were present fully in this list. And this example shows how retailers can raise competitiveness of eco-labeled products and drive the market, answering the consumer's demand on green products. The last example of using the eco-labels in green purchase is green building. And one example is EU Energy Labeling Directive that demands using a special label on electric appliances. This cost in raising the amount of energy efficient appliances in the European Union and annual estimated savings comparable to the annual primary energy consumption of Italy. And also, the usage of eco-labeled products can bring a big advantage in green building certification schemes. Of course, this depends on the particular standards and the country. For example, in Australia, the eco-labeled building products are highly recommended to be used in green building. Whereas in the LEED standards, which is managed by the United States Green Building Council, eco-labels type 1 are hardly mentioned, mostly related to green cleaning or energy efficient appliances. And of course, it is also our task now for the eco-labels to be mentioned more in such green building standards. So my examples show how eco-labels are used globally for the green purchase, and now it is time to make some conclusions. And eco-labels can be used by procurement officials in different ways, and type 1 eco-labels have the highest environmental performance among all the environmental labels. And you can find a great number of eco-labeled products awarded by the Global Eco-Labeling Network in the market. And all the companies who are the GEM members, they are partners with public purchases in their own countries and also lead the green public procurement policy. Therefore, Global Eco-Labeling Network can be used as a resource for procurers and producers and help to develop sustainable purchasing programs. And on my last slide, I provided some examples of the additional resources that can be used to know more on sustainable procurement. And I ask you to sign up to the Global Eco-Labeling Network's newsletter to get more information on eco-labels and advantages of eco-labeled products. And also you can contact me or Global Eco-Labeling Network Secretariat to get more information, and I will be happy to answer your questions. And I wish you a fruitful work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you. That was quite interesting and quite informative. Also, you spoke about there is a need to shift towards eco-label, and you also spoke about the potential for growth of eco-labeling in developing countries. You talked about why one should engage in sustainable public procurement, and you also talked about how we can engage and how we can utilize the voluntary guidelines. So that was quite useful, and we'll wait for questions. Let me now invite our next speaker, Mr. Sanjay Kumar. I hope the technical problem is solved. My request to all the speakers is to stick to the time allotted to you, that is 15 minutes, because we have a few more speakers to speak, and followed by a question and answer. So over to you, Mr. Sanjay Kumar.
Thank you, Arvind, and thank you, Ustam. Sorry for the technical glitches which we had. And I think the case for the social public procurement has already been made by the ULIA. And I think before me, Saeed was, supposed to speak, but I understand he has sent some video, so that will be played. So that will set the context for the social procurement in general and what progress, the country around the world they have made in terms of social public procurement. My topic is sustainable procurement in construction and infrastructure. So if you look at the, social public procurement progress around the world, it has been focused on mainly on the products, like maybe it could be furniture, it could be IT equipment, it could be papers, printers, and so on. But here we are going to talk about why we need to, integrate sustainability into, construction and infrastructure projects worldwide. Next. So if next, so if you look at the trend in infrastructure spending, if you look at the country around the world, they spend roughly about 50 to 60% of government expenditure in procurement of infrastructure. The same is the case with the multilateral development bank like World Bank Development Bank, SL Development Bank. Whenever they lend, the loan to the member countries around the world, most of the lending, it goes towards infrastructure, be it railway, be it highway, be it water pipeline, be it power plant, be it, sanitation works, and so on. And if you look at the SDGs, we have SDGs which have been agreed by the global leader, and we are targeted to achieve by 2030. But in order to achieve SDGs by 2030, it is estimated that we need roughly about 1.6 to 2.5 trillion, investment per annum in the infrastructure alone. Unless we are able to invest this amount, we will not be able to achieve the SDGs. And the fourth one, the major one, is again we know that China is implementing one belt, one road, project all around the world, and their estimation is roughly about $4 to $8 trillion in coming, 10, 12 years by 2030. So if you look at the scale of investment which is going to happen in the infrastructure sector, it's so huge we can't ignore. If we ignore, we can imagine the consequences which we face on the environment and society. Next. Next, the sleeper. And, the infrastructure sector has linkage not only with the, sustainable consumption and production, which is, 12.7 is also related to the sustainable procurement, but it has linkage to the other SDGs as well. So once we fail, integrating sustainability into the infrastructure sector, we will be failing in many other SDGs as well. Next. That is the reason, like when, One Planet network on SPP, when they were developing a strategy for the 2018 and 22, I was also part of the team. So we decided which are the area we need to focus on. And after the result of global survey which we undertook, and the focus area clearly emerged that there are three areas which we need to put, and put more emphasis during the 2018 to 22, the last phase of the 10-year framework program. And the three sectors which emerged at the top, they were the infrastructure, health, and IT. So that is why, the 1-year network SPP program and constituted a special interest group on SPP in construction infrastructure to promote sustainability in the infrastructure sector. And some of the members, key members of the interest group is given just at the bottom. It includes the UNEP, EcoVadis, IISD, International Institute of Sustainable Development, Switzerland, GECA, Australia, China, Ministry of Environment and Ecological, Then US EPA, United Nations, USA EPA, which is responsible for the green purchasing, activity in the USA, and one is Ghana, PPA Ghana, Public Procurement Agency Ghana. So these are the 9 agencies which are involved in the, and take the steer the progress and develop the program in this sector. Next. Yeah. So if you look at the infrastructure, project cycle, you have, opportunity to integrate sustainability at any of the stages. But, it starts with the need, identification of the need. Unless you are able to conceive at that point of time, like doing the project planning, the sustainability aspect, the ability of the procurement to influence the sustainability outcome, it reduces, right? So it's very important that you involve all the stakeholders during the planning stage itself, so that you are able to achieve the maximum sustainability outcome. Then again, of course, it is important from when you are going to the market, what you are going to get and from where you are going to get. From there is also important because you are not only considering the sustainability of the end product which you are getting into the infrastructure, but you are also taking care of the sustainability. Right. So it is so important that one of the great example of sustainable construction which happens to be the London Olympic Games 2012, which they organized and which they constructed, and their CEO said that the best thing to have is to integrate sustainability, in any project very upfront in the procurement stage itself. Next. And by integrating, sustainability in the upfront in the procurement stage, they have been able to achieve a remarkable success, sustainability outcome. If you look at them, they had, this game was located somewhere on the waste industrial site. It was almost closed and abandoned kind of a type. But they demolished, the whole structure, and they were able to use 98% of material from the site of the demolished building. Similarly, they source 100% sustainability source timber, mostly FSC, Forest Steward Council timber. Then they were able to use the unused gas pipelines, the pipes which you get in the pipeline for the stadium trusses, because if you're going to use the new steel or new material for the trusses, then you need the virgin materials, but they were able to use gas pipelines for that. And in case of a concrete, they used the low carbon concrete, and they were able to use blast furnace slags, and that constitutes roughly about 52% of the the total aggregate. And by doing so, they were able to achieve saving of about 4 lakh 0.4 million ton CO2 equivalent. And they also achieved the various targets of related to the recycling of the water and the other. So why they were able to do it, and why the people in the other countries they are not able to do? So we worked on this, and we found that okay, different countries are at the different stages of integrating sustainability in the procurement process. Some of the countries they are quite advanced. Maybe you have a country like in Europe, especially in the northern Europe, they are very advanced in implementing sustainability in procurement process. But there are other countries, say in Africa, even in Asia or in the South Asia region, we have very slow progress, right? So what are the reasons? One of the major reasons which came out was lack of legal and regulatory framework for sustainable procurement of works in many countries. And in many of the countries, say for example in India, you have the current general financial rules which provides for the taking into account life cycle costs during the project planning stage, right? But many of the people, many of the procurers, many of the people who are working on that subject, they are not aware of that. Okay, this provision is here. Similarly, there is insufficient documentation is dismissed at the local, regional, and national level. This is the case. Many of the information and resources are available, but those are available in the different languages. I was trying to look at the resources available in Germany and Austria. So those were all in the German, and it's also in the France. It's in the French. So getting those translated into English and putting up at some place is again a huge task. And in countries, procurers and bidders need better tools to quantify and evaluate these sustainability aspects. For a product like getting type 1 eco label may be easy, but say for example we are building a road, so how do we evaluate and quantify the sustainability benefit or sustainability aspect into it? How do we take into it? So those knowledge again is very. And again, we don't have the tools. Say for example, in Netherlands you have a tool which gives you exact amount of what are the contents of the material which is going into the infrastructure, and they will give you the exact what is the total CO2 equivalent of that project if you make that project using those materials. Then in many of the countries, like the decision maker who are involved in the making of the policy on procurement, they are not much aware of the sustainability agenda. It's not reaching up to them. Although people are talking since quite some years about the sustainability, but still it hasn't reached. Development, is the priority, and they see that somehow sustainability hinders the development, which is not the case because sustainability and development can happen together. Next. What's up next? Yeah. So the interest of develop a program, see how we are going to address those challenges in countries around the world. And when we first, what is the core we thought is building a case for the sustainable procurement of work, right? It is at the core. Unless we are able to make a case for sustainability into the procurement of infrastructure, we will not be able to do it. So the first is how do we build a case? Because we have it's easier for us in the sense like because we have already built a case for sustainability in procurement of products, and many of the people, many of the countries, they are doing it. So, but for the work, it's not happening. So we have to build a case. And the next is go to the previous one. Go to the previous, please. Yeah. And then comes the building of the capacity of the providing resources at a place where it could be accessible, right? And since it is the United Nations work, we were thinking that it cannot happen that we start charging for the resources. So whatever resources we are able to provide, that has to be free and it should be accessible to all 24/7 by any people who is all around the world. And the third is hand holding, like providing them with the tools so that the procurer, they are able to integrate sustainability aspects, right? Provide them with the template for the RFP, provide them with the template of contract condition and so on. So next. So as a part of that activity, what we are trying to build is we are trying to build a knowledge cum secondary material platform. It has two components. First is a knowledge platform, which is objective is to provide free access to quality resources for embedded sustainability consideration in procurement decisions. And some of the features are like it's a 24/7. You can inform and exchange a discussion forum to say express views, hand-holding support, and so on. And the second part is okay, and we also okay. Yeah, also hold on here, please. And the second part is secondary material market platform. Then the objective is to promote and facilitate circular procurement practices by customers. We know that in many parts of the world now people have started focusing on the how to use the already material which is available. Maybe it is fly ash, maybe it is construction waste material and so on. So how do you provide a marketplace for them? If somebody wants to buy secondary material and if somebody has the secondary material. So it's a kind of a matchmaking platform for everyone, and it would be when it actually conception to implementation stage when it goes, it will have independently cloud-based online marketplace and matchmaking requirement of buyers and sellers. Next. Yeah. So what I would like to say, before I say thank you, what I'd like to say is like whoever is participating in this webinar, I would welcome you to join this network and interest group on social public procurement. This cannot happen unless, if you think that only the government can do it, I think it's a very big task, and government probably will not be able to do it alone. So we need to have collaboration of stakeholders, the big companies who are into the construction business, the organization who are into the certification works and so on. So unless they bring them all together, right, and make it this a platform, we will not be able to serve. This platform we are trying to build, and it will take about and with that, I say thank you to all of you. If you want to join me, get in touch with me. I'm available on internet and LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. You're welcome to join, and I will be happy to discuss any question or answer any question at the end of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay Kumar. You touched upon very interesting points. You tried to link SDG 12 with 6, 7, 8, and 13, and you also showed us a case study of London Olympic and how you tried to tell us how sustainable procurement can be integrated with the infrastructure and developmental projects. So thank you. It was very interesting. Now let me invite Mr. S. Karthikeyan, who is the director at the CII, and he will speak about the sustainable procurement as well as the GreenPro. So over to you, Mr. Karthikeyan.
Thank you, Chairman. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yeah, is it visible, sir? Yes.
Yes.
Very good afternoon, friends. The very objective of this presentation is how the sustainable procurement could be institutionalized in a private sector. So this talks about why there is a need for sustainable procurement and how do we go about with respect to implementing this. Generally, if you look at in built environment, especially in buildings, when we go for procurement, presently we procure based on the competitive pricing and also the quality. Obviously, what we look at is, okay, is the product, is it meeting my requirement, and how competitive the price is. But many a times what happens is when we go by only the pricing, there is a lot of other implications we get into over a period of life cycle. There could be a lot of recurring operational and maintenance costs. There could be health and environment related issues. And we may not know are these products and materials really meeting the green building requirements. So these are some of the challenges. That is how the things are happening. If you, as I said, the limitations are like this. There could be an increased cost as well. With respect to this kind of procurement. When we talk about sustainable procurement, what exactly it is? If you look at it, is nothing but adoption of environmentally sustainable, environmentally responsible practices in procurement activities. You may procure a product, you may procure a material, you may procure a technology or even a service. But what happens is when we go by these kind of sustainable procurement or green procurement, it creates a positive impact on the environment. It creates a positive impact on the health and well-being, and even it leads to reduction in cost when we are looking at the entire life cycle of the product or the building point of view. So,
sorry to interrupt. You can share your presentation.
Yeah, I'm sharing my presentation. Yes. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. You can make it full screen and
Yeah, thank you. Sorry if I had missed this. So what I'm trying to say is when we buy sustainable products, we make a positive impact on the environment, we make a positive impact on the health and well-being of the occupants, and also it may lead to even reduction in the overall cost of ownership. When you look at the entire life cycle, the cost of ownership comes down. If you look at the global initiatives, there are many initiatives happening globally. You heard from Ms. Yulia, you heard from Mr. Sanjay Kumar. There are many activities happening globally in terms of going towards sustainable procurement. For an example, Japan has formalized the green purchasing as a law. European Union has set up sustainable public procurement guidelines. They are going ahead with whenever they go ahead with some kind of public procurement. The sustainability is a very key component as part of the purchasing decision. Even in India, we have made some progress. For an example, Niti Aayog is batting for the sustainable public procurement. They have come out with a resource efficiency, strategic paper on resource efficiency. And as part of that, they have very clearly mentioned the eco-labeling and the sustainable procurement is going to contribute for the future resource efficiency in the country. Even large public sector organizations like Indian Railways, they have taken many initiatives to implement the sustainable procurement. Friends, the point what I am trying to say is from India point of view, we are lagging behind in terms of implementation of the sustainable procurement, but we are not far away. We have to take many initiatives to catch up with the world. What are the benefits of sustainable procurement? As I said, it can even contribute for reduction in capital costs as well as significantly the reduction in operating and maintenance costs. So many of us know when you go and buy green products, it contributes for reduction in operation and maintenance costs, but at the same time, it can also contribute for reduction in capital costs nowadays. The second thing is it enhances the health and environment benefits. So improves from the green building point of view. If you look at it, improves the overall green building performance. Ultimately, it contributes for a reduction in GHG emission at a national level as well as at your business level. What is the kind of approach we can adopt? This has been developed based on many discussions we had with multiple stakeholders. The stakeholders include the end users, the developers, the product manufacturers, the consultants, etc. So this is a suggested approach. The first and foremost is when we want to do this at an organization level. For an example, if you look at presently the developer organizations who are developers or builders, they buy green products, but these green products are purchased, in a knee-jerk reaction manner. People buy, yes, the green building rating wants few products to be implemented in my building, so I purchase green paint. I purchase some GreenPro labeled construction block or cement. But the sustainable procurement has not been implemented holistically. So what we suggest here is the first and foremost thing is at an organization level, the organization has to adopt a sustainable procurement policy. I will get into the details of what is the sustainable procurement policy in the subsequent slides. But at an organization level, there needs to be a policy. Yes, when they purchase, it has to be green. The second thing is, it is not only it should not be only at the top management level. It has to go to the end user level. All the staff in the organization, especially the users, the engineers, the architects, they all should know, yes, why I should go for this sustainable product. They should believe in that. So there is a need for capacity building at the organization level. Then we need to work on developing a sustainable procurement guidelines as well. And then finally the actual implementation happens in terms of purchasing of the sustainable products, materials, and technologies. When we talk about sustainable procurement policies, this is purely depending upon the individual organization. The organization, depending upon their requirement, they can work on developing the procurement policies. There are organizations, see for an example, if it is a manufacturing industry, the way they develop their procurement policy could be completely different because they need to look at their own way of, what are the products they are purchasing, how to go about with respect to these products, etc. So the policy will vary depending upon the organization, but they need to think about what they are purchasing, what is the kind of impact it is making, and what is the cost implication, etc. All those need to be looked into while designing the policy. So, but at the same time, it should also talk about what is the commitment the organization has and what are the broad strategies they are planning to have. All these need to be highlighted as part of the policy. The policy may also talk about some kind of short, medium, and long-term goals, so that over a period of time they can look at implementation of this sustainable procurement policy in a gradual manner. So the example what you are seeing on the right hand side is a sustainable procurement policy implemented by Godrej. Godrej, they have their own policy. They are looking at in terms of 4 major quadrants. They are looking at the quality centric, and also they are looking at what kind of green impact it is making, and also it has to be ethically driven. So Godrej is a very ethical organization. They are looking at when they are purchasing what kind of impact it is making, and it is socially focused. So based on these, they have developed the procurement policy. Suppose the second aspect is, if you look at it, is more in terms of the capacity building of the staff. That is what I was trying to highlight earlier. It should not be only a top management decision. People who are involved in the procurement process should know why they are doing this, what are the benefits of doing this, and also what kind of best practices that have been globally adopted, and how we are going to implement this at our organization level. So all this, there is a need for some kind of capacity at the organization level. So all the staff who are involved in the purchasing of the products, for an example, he could be a procurement manager, he could be an engineer, or he could be an operational level executive, whoever he is. If he is involved in use of the product, he should be aware why I am going for a green product, why I am not going for a conventional product. So that kind of awareness, knowledge need to be created. So there is a need for training at the organization level. Then the third is, there is a need for some kind of guidelines. In fact, many of these organizations, they make it as part of their tender document itself. So when we are working on purchasing of the products, obviously we need to look at multiple areas. At the same time, we need not to compromise on the price. We need not to compromise on the quality of the product. But at the same time, we can look at what are the parameters that should become a part of selection criteria. It could be based on energy, it could be based on water, it could be based on material. Why am I highlighting these 4 areas are, like, especially from the developer's point of view, the builder's point of view, when they are getting into green procurement, okay, especially for the green buildings, these criteria need to be met. I will also give some examples how these are going to make an impact from the building point of view. See, for an example, when they are selecting even a construction block, how to go about in terms of selection of a construction block. Generally, the tendency is to select a construction block based on the compressive strength. What is the strength of this construction block, then they go ahead with respect to this. But whereas when we are looking at from the green building point of view, not only the compressive strength, we need to look at what is the the thermal conductivity of the block. What is the thermal performance of the block that need to be looked at. So if you look at the eco-labeled products, they are looking at what is the U value of this brick. Say, for an example, if you look at a conventional block, the U value is close to about 2 watts per meter square Kelvin, whereas a GreenPro labeled block, it can be only about 1/3 of it. That means technically it will allow only 1/3 of the heat to pass through the wall, and that would lead to the air conditioning load. I have given a small case study where we have very clearly demonstrated that a GreenPro certified block contributes to at least about 5 to 6% reduction in energy consumption, reduction in heat load in a green building. So obviously, when a builder wants to go for a construction block, this parameter should be part of it. They need to look at in terms of, okay, what is the parameter of a block that need to be considered while purchasing it? Apart from the compressive strength, they need to look at, yes, what is the U value of the block also need to be considered. Similarly, from the water efficiency point of view, see, for an example, many a times when we go for concrete, the concrete has been uniformly used, whatever is the concrete itself, it is. Nowadays, there are special concretes available even for enhancing the stormwater management. I'm going to talk about a specific concrete, for an example, pervious concrete. This is something, a special application where the percolation rate is quite significant. It is close to about some 500 liters per minute per meter square of surface area. So this can contribute to the enhancing the rainwater capturing, rainwater management. It can address significantly. As part of the green building requirement, we talk about going for separate rainwater harvesting systems. Obviously, it is going to cost more. It is going to have an additional cost. When they combine these two, when the footpath, the platforms, they go for a pervious concrete that can also contribute for increasing the rainwater harvesting. So if this has been integrated into the design, they can even significantly reduce the investment in the green building. So we have taken an example where they have gone for this pervious concrete. With the help of pervious concrete, they are able to increase the rainwater harvesting to the extent of about 37%. Similarly, from the materials and resources point of view, there are multiple examples that can be taken up. How to source sustainability. General tendency in the building sector is people to go for ordinary Portland cement. Ordinary Portland cement, it is good for one-day strength. It will quickly set. You will immediately gain the strength. But over a period of time, if you look at PPC, Portland Pozzolana cement, as well as the slag cement, they contribute significantly for the increase in strength. So it also contributes for increased durability. So these kind of cements are being eco-labeled, and this should become part of the purchasing requirements. Similarly, from the indoor environment quality, when we are selecting the products, we need to select the products with low VOC components. We need to see whether these products have got hazardous substances or not. These are the points we should consider while selecting the products. The point I am trying to highlight here is through these examples, yes, whenever we are selecting the products, generally we go by what is the functional requirement, what is the cost, what is the quality of this product, etc. Apart from that, we need to look at these green specifications, which need to become part of your purchasing documents. So these are some of the examples in terms of conventional versus green construction chemicals. The green construction chemicals, it contributes for enhanced indoor environment quality, and also it contributes for enhanced health and well-being of the occupants. So having identified these parameters, it should become part of our purchasing documents. It should become part of the tender. And many a times it also becomes very difficult for the end users to mention all these parameters. At the time, they can simply mention. That is where the eco-label comes very handy. When they say, yes, it is GreenPro certified product, when they say, yes, it has to be an eco-labeled product, then it becomes very easy for the end user to choose the right products and materials. And finally, when they are going for implementation, the purchasing of the green products and materials, it cannot be done in single phase. You need to go gradually. So there is a need for prioritizing the product categories. The product category can be prioritized in a way, start with, say, high volume and high value products. Look at the products which are having high value and also high volume, which are creating a very high environment impact. And based on these, the products can be first categorized, and then we can start implementing the purchasing the sustainable products. The year one, it can be starting with some 25% of the products purchased by the cost, or gradually it can improve. Another important aspect as part of this, having implemented the green procurement or sustainable procurement, we need to measure and monitor what exactly is the impact. The impact need to be looked at in terms of the financials. Obviously, when we are looking at the financials, we look at majority of time in terms of the initial cost. We need to also look at in terms of what is the life cycle cost it is making the impact. Even nowadays, as I said, many of these products at par with the conventional products or even some of the products, when you choose carefully, the initial cost also can be lower. The second, you can measure and monitor what is the kind of environmental benefits it has contributed to. Because at an organization level, highlighting these kind of environmental benefits in terms of energy, water, waste, and even GHG emissions, it could contribute to the image building, the brand building of the organization. And over a period of time, gradually it could be scaled up to achieve 90 to 100% of the products purchased are going green. So as I said, for implementing the sustainable procurement process, the eco-labeling comes very, very handy. In India, the GreenPro eco-label, it comes very handy for selection process. Basically, the tool assesses how green is the product based on the life cycle approach. It is at par with international standards. It also highlights the way forward in terms of achieving excellence in environmental performance and guides the manufacturers to position the product as green. As I said, it is at par with the global standards. It has been recognized by Global Eco-Labeling Network and UN Environment. They have come out with a case study on GreenPro. You can find this UN Environment case study by Googling it. It is available in UN Environment website as well. What they are saying is GreenPro standard is in line with UN Environment guidelines on providing product sustainability information. There are about 10 guidelines. All the 10 guidelines are being met by GreenPro in this regard. As I said, the GreenPro eco-label, in the last 5 years, it has made significant impact. More than about 1,600 products are available in the market. They are eco-labeled products from about 110 companies. For constructing a building, right now, I would put it like this. More than about 80% of the product by cost, you can choose green products. That means 80% of the construction cost, you can choose by green products. And we are going to make it more than about 95% by income if we complete the steel and the other related products. Friends, this is how I would like to conclude. Implementation of the green procurement policy at the organization level, it can significantly contribute for reducing the costs and maximizing the benefits. Especially choosing the green products and materials, it can significantly contribute. From the GreenPro point of view, it enables the architects or developers or the builders to easily choose the products, and obviously it creates a kind of win-win situation for all. So this is how I would like to conclude. Thank you for patient listening.
Thank you, Mr. Karthik. You touched on a very important topic of managing sustainable procurement. You spoke about the sustainable procurement policy. You talked about capacity building. You also talked about the sustainable procurement management program. How can we integrate the sustainability considerations into the procurement documents? And it was quite insightful, your presentation. You touched upon, you said that 80% of the construction material can be green material, and we have Mr. Sanjay Kumar, and we had a couple of interaction in the past also. How can government source green material into the infrastructure building and all? So this will be very useful. Well, I'm not pushing for Ultratech products, but we have 18 of our products already certified for GreenPro, which includes some of the one which you mentioned about the AAC blocks, the pervious concrete, or the Portland-Pozzolana cement. So these are some of the products which you have, and we feel proud about it. Now, moving to our next speaker, of course, he is not physically present with us, neither he is going to speak live with us, but we have a recorded video of Mr. Farid Yakar. Mr. Farid Yakar is a program officer at United Nations Environment Program. Before joining United Nations Environment Program in 2008, Mr. Yakar was a professor in Agriculture University in Algeria. He also worked with an NGO called ENDA, which is Environmental Development for Action, after the Rio Summit. And recently, currently he is working with United Nations Environment Program as a program officer. So let's hear what Mr. Yakar has to say. So can we have his video, please? audio is not there. So there is an issue with the audio. Not sure if everybody is able to hear what Mr. Yakar has said. We seem to have some technical issue. Let's give a try once again. Otherwise, we'll move to the question and answer.
The participants would like to thank the Confederation Indian Ministry Chairman Parasur Rahman for their kind invitation and for giving me the opportunity to speak before you. I work for the United Nations Environment Program, Economy Division, where I'm in charge of the Sustainable Public Procurement work area.
We had Mr. Parim Diakar. He spoke about various initiatives United Nations Environment Program is taking up to promote sustainable procurement. And while he's not present with us, so we couldn't have much interaction with him. Now we are done with the presentations, and we have, while we have already exceeded our time, but I would definitely like to take a couple of questions. And so the first one is, let me read out what I have. Is for Miss Yulia, and this is from Aditya Gurudanti. So can you please let us know the difference between voluntary sustainability standards and eco-label for sustainable procurement? Which one would be preferable? So, Ms. Yulia, could you please answer this?
Yes, sure. I briefly answered this question in our chat, and I can also comment on that a little bit more. These sustainable voluntary standards, which are mentioned, are the standards that are members of the ICL Alliance, and they include, for example, Best Cotton Initiative, which was the question about, and also, for example, FSC label that is used for sustainable forests, or MSC label, which is used for sustainable fishery. And all these standards are about sustainable supply, are about sustainable sourcing. So this is the only one life cycle stage that considers the source of the raw material. For example, how the forest was grown, or how the cotton was grown on the farm, or how the fish was catched. And if we compare these standards with the Ecolabel Type 1 standards, we see that in Ecolabel Type 1 standards, we consider more stages of the life cycle. For example, it can be not only sourcing, but also, for example, production at the manufacturing site and using the special chemicals in the product. And in this case, for example, the some kind of clothes which is made from cotton and which is EU eco-labeled will be compliant with different criteria from the source of cotton till the usage of chemicals in the final product, which is textiles and clothes. And if these clothes is certified with the Best Cotton Initiative, that considers only the stage of growing cotton in the farm. So this is the difference between these two type of standards, Ecolabel Type 1 and sustainable standards. And the procurer can choose different kind of labels depending on its own needs, because sometimes it is too difficult to find the big amount of eco-labeled Type 1 products in the market. In this situation, you can also use some other standards to be implemented in your green purchasing tender or bid. So it depends on what his situation does the procurer have, and he can use different types of standards. So that was my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilya. Next question is to Mr. Sanjay Kumar. Mr. Sabyasachi Sengupta has complimented you for a presentation, nice presentation. He would like to know how we are integrating sustainable procurement policies, or rather how these SPPs are implemented in procurement in Indian Railways.
Well, thank you. Very nice question. See, if you look at the Indian Railway or India, like we are taking opportunistic approach and individualistic approach. In the sense, if say some procurer is aware of, has some idea about sustainability, anyway, he is doing his work, he is taking care of it, but it is not done at the level. For example, we do not have assessment saying in a way that, okay, we have such public procurement policy that everybody has to apply. No, it's not there. But lot of things are happening in the last couple of years. The government of India level, government of India has notified a task force on social public procurement. Like, so they have to come up with a national action plan, and I hope that that will be applicable to all the central ministry of government of India and departments. So once that action plan comes, probably we'll be better placed to implement that. But at the same time, in Indian Railway, there is another development which is happening. We have signed an agreement with EU Switch Asia for it's a small funding for undertaking the status assessment and making our plan and going on a pilot. So you can say that we are making a beginning in a structured manner on social public procurement in the Indian Railways. I hope that clarifies and helps.
Next question. Next question is while I don't know, I can't see the who has posted this question, but the question is about the selection criteria, and I think Karthik, you can answer this question because you spoke about the procurement policy, and the cost should not be driver for selecting a supplier. While cost should not be a driver, and there could be some non-financial criteria based on which you can evaluate a supplier. But in that case, the question is, how do you satisfy the auditors? I mean, on the financial one, it's clearly the quantitative one, and you can show him that this supplier being a L1, we have selected him. But apart from the L1, if you try to put some qualitative criteria like for the sustainable procurement, then there will be a difficulty in satisfying the queries from the auditor. So how can we answer those queries?
Very good question. Thank you very much. This L1 problem will come when you have only a very limited number of suppliers in a particular product category. Let us take the category of paint. When you are purchasing paint and you want to buy, let us say, GreenPro eco-labeled paint, and there is another competitor who gives obviously a little lower price, then you will have difficulty. But the scenario is changing nowadays. And now, if you look at in the paint category itself, you will find another 5 to 8 product manufacturers who are meeting the green standards and getting their products certified. So when this green becomes a criteria, the product manufacturers also encouraged to meet the standards, improve their products, meet the standards, and get their products certified. So gradually, it becomes a case that where you find more number of manufacturers meeting the requirement and then giving the product at a competitive pricing. It is always a question of demand versus supply. More you demand for green products, the manufacturer also, they stand up to the expectation and then meet the requirement and make their product green and make it competitive as well.
There are some compliments. Many people have complimented scissors.
Yeah, Arvind, I would like to just compliment the answer.
Yeah, please.
Can I?
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So look, these are the actual challenges, and these are the actual challenges actually the procurer face in the field. That is why people have not been able to implement it, even though it's as a concept it looks like it's very simple. So sustainability could be applied in the procurement process at a different level, like the level of, say, while you are making the specification and while you are making under as a selection criteria or as a evaluation criteria, right? While making as a part of description or specification, it's very easy. Like you adopt some type 1 eco level criteria and say that, okay, these are the aspects I want to. My materials should have these and whoever is offering that product naturally gets technically qualified, and based on that you evaluate and place the order on the L1. But what happens, when it's a capital product, say capital equipment, then you have not only the product, but you also have the cost like operation cost, spare part cost, maintenance cost, disposal cost. How do you take those into account? So there you take it as a evaluation criteria, right? So again, I'm talking only about the economic cost at the moment, right? But I will go to the non-price attribute as well. So there, you know, you take all these costs and bring it at the present value. Again, the question comes: what should be the factor for discounting factor for bringing the value future cost into the present? For that, the people have found solution, and country across the world normally their national bank, something like Reserve Bank of India, they notify the discounting factor, which is used in procurement all and on the world to bring the future value to the present value. But then again comes the non price attribute. Say for example, we are buying equipment and it has a I want to reduce, our aim is to reduce the carbon emission, right? And then I want to factor in the carbon emission coming from the product as one of the criteria. Then I say that okay, the people around again in some of the countries, Western, especially in the European countries, they apply the carbon cost to the so amount of carbon which is coming out of the product, they put a carbon cost on that, and based on that they evaluate the tenders and they award the contract. Then again there are other criteria for which we do not have any method for quantification at all, right? Say for example, say a particular industry, how much emission is being emitted from that particular industry, and if you want to source that product from that particular manufacturing unit, so what should be the criteria, right? So in that case, what people do is, like, what is prevalent is some scorecard. People are using the scorecards which takes into account different attributes of the manufacturing plant, not only the manufacturing plant, but also the impact on the people who are employed. Are they being paid the minimum wages? Are they being paid the leave? Do they have the liberty to form associations and so on? So there are roughly about 44, 45 criteria depending on the organization from which you want to take the scorecard. Say for example, EcoVadis, one of the member of the interest group on infrastructure, like they provide the scorecard globally to the many companies. But unfortunately, in the government, we are not willing to take that EcoVadis scorecard because, a government, again, the challenge is like we can't take a solution from someone which is the sole propriety of only any particular organization, right? So that way we are not able to recommend, EcoVadis scorecard in the government procurement process. But I believe that, many governments like US EPA has come up with the guidelines in which it says that what kind of procurement, eco-labeling or what kind of sustainability standards should. So once they have come up with the guidelines, and then based on that guideline, they have certified some of the standards. Okay, this say for example, Energy Star could be applied in the government procurement, right? There is something like Water Safe or something that could be applied in the US government procurement and so on. So the idea is you come up first with the guidelines on adopting allowing the eco label in your market. Once you come up with the guidelines and that any particular eco label that satisfy that guidelines, then public procurement will be free to apply those either the eco label or the selection criteria in the procurement process. Then
Yeah.
you able to apply the non-price factor as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay Kumar. With this, now we come to the end of this session. We have already exceeded our time, and people are waiting for the other next session to start. I thank you, each one of you who have participated. I could see more than 150 people participated. I also would like to thank all my panelists, co-panelists, Mr. Sanjay Kumar, Mr. Karthikeyan, Ms. Yulia, and Mr. Yakar, who joined us through the video message. for your insightful address. I also thank the CII GreenPro for organizing this event, especially Utsav and his team. A wonderful event. I know there are many queries we couldn't answer because of or they couldn't post it because of the paucity of time. But you can always write back to us. Our addresses are there with the CII, and we would try to respond to it to your satisfaction, to the best of your satisfaction. So thanks once again, and stay tuned for the next session. With this, we would like to take a pause over here. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very
Arvind,
much.
for the yes, thank you, Mr. Arvind, for chairing the session and anchoring it wonderfully. And thank you all the speakers for their quality inputs. There's just one announcement before closing the session. We would request all the attendees to join us in our next session, that is implementation of sustainable procurement in the building sector, challenges and opportunities. And also we would request you to visit our stall as well on the CII Hive platform, where you can also have a look at various different green products that are being uh, being shown there. Thank you.
Thanks.
Attendees can join the next session by going to the Hive platform and joining from there. Just like how you joined this session, you have to go back to the Hive platform, log in, and join the session on the sustainable procurement in building sector. Thank you.
Chances are you will run into us because we've been setting the standard in color and protection for more than 200 years. We're right there when you need us. Whether you're painting a single wall, coating a complete building, or transforming an entire city, our products also keep transport moving at the speed of industry turns. We even protect the things that hold in your hand. And we do it because we believe in the power of paint. And transform life. without color, how would you express yourself? Imagine a world without color. How would you express that? Imagine a world without color.
I want to thank Economic Times for recognizing architects as the emerging consumer brand of the year. Today, Architects is already designer and manufacturer of largest number of green certified modular furniture and interior systems in India. Our products are designed and made right here in India and getting recognition worldwide for their innovation and out-of-box design. In fact, they can replace a big amount of products imported from China and other countries. These products can bring down the time of execution of interiors like offices, hospitals, transport hubs, institutions, hotels, and even residences from many months to just a few days, and with minimum human resources on site.
Imagine a world without color. How would you express yourself? Tell your story. Colors all around us.
Yeah, Hemant, let's close the event.
Okay, thank you all for joining. Request you to kindly follow on to the next session. You can go log into the next session through Hive platform. Please log in back to CI Hive and join our next session, session 2. Thank you all for joining. Now we will be closing the session.